If anybody has a thought and they catch up with us, we'll go back to that for sure. But we're going to go on to Therapeutic Thursday. And with that, I'm going to welcome our new social media administrator, Jessica McCracken, otherwise known as Jess McBez on Facebook. She is now going to be taking over our Therapeutic Thursday and our Feel Good Friday, or whatever name she wants to assign to those, our Thursday and Friday posts. But as she says here, this was her first time sharing as a social media coordinator, and she was so excited for this volunteer role and to share her passion of all things related to emotional and mental health on Thursdays. She looks forward to getting to know the community better and helping to lead everyone towards a healthier and happier mental and emotional state. And she has been an educator of 20 years and a trained life, wellness, and spiritual coach. She knows the importance of taking care of mental and emotional health. It's just as important as taking care of our physical health. And it's been about 4.5 years since her type A dissection. She's done a lot of mindfulness and a lot of meditation to achieve where she is today. She included an article that was titled "Mindfulness Worked as Well for Anxiety as Drugs in a Study." This article shares many tips and tricks and facts about mindfulness as a way of controlling your stress and anxiety instead of traditional drugs and medications. You will see much more from Jess regarding mindfulness, meditation, and overall mental well-being in Therapeutic Thursday posts. Jess looks forward to getting to know everyone in the community and sharing tips and tricks that you can actually implement at home, even for just a few minutes a day. So please feel free to reach out to us through info@aortichope.org if you'd like some more information about topics, or you have questions or anything that you would like information on regarding mental and emotional health. And she looks forward to hearing from you. So we're going to take a look at that article. Where did it go? I'm not too sure. Let's take a look at it here. See if I can pull it up.
Mike's got a statement here.
Please, Mike.
Got lucky and didn't get COVID. My wife got it, and almost everyone at the post office where I work got it. Some multiple times. Last day of work I missed was my last aortic surgery in May of 2020. Trooper.
Wow.
Mike is a trooper. I think Mike gets if there's 365 days in a year, Mike gets 60 of those days off. Pretty sure that's the math.
Amazing. That's pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing. Yeah, COVID's no joke, no fun. I mean, people that I know that have just been able to stay out of its path for the last, almost 3 years are now finally getting it. I think it's just going to be one of those things that everybody's going to eventually get it, which is kind of what we wanted, right? We wanted this herd immunity thing to happen, and I think it's going to happen. And the positive is now it's not as deadly as it was in 2020, and we know a lot more about it. But in this community and in many communities, it's really not something that you want to tempt to see if you're going to get a mild case or a major case. So, all right, so let's talk about the mindfulness and how it worked as well for anxiety as drug in a study. I think it's pretty interesting because we're actually taking a mindfulness class. It is a beta test here with Aortic Hope, and we hope to be able to expand the number of offerings we can have. But it is so interesting to really see this being measured scientifically as an alternative to medications, because I don't know anybody that likes to put these medications in their body, and to have something that it really is a lovely, interesting experience, be able to be the alternative to that. I think it's great. But the study that they did tested a widely used mindfulness program that includes 2.5 hours of class and weekly and 45 minutes of daily practice at home. And the participants were randomly assigned to the program or daily use of a generic drug that's sold under the brand name Lexapro for depression and anxiety. So after 2 months, anxiety was, as measured on a severity scale, seemed to decline by about 30% in both groups and continued to decrease during the next following 4 months. So that's interesting that even just doing mindfulness without the medication, it decreased the same as those that were on a medication. So, that offers some options there for people, something for you to talk about with your doctor or your therapist. But if you go into this article, it's really going to give you a lot more information about this study, about their findings, and some additional tips as well. So, thoughts about that? Mindfulness for me has been a journey. We've had 2 classes. It's such a journey. But it is a journey. It's a journey, two different reasons. One, it's very hard for me to stay present, very hard sometimes. And two, sometimes very hard for me to stay awake. So I'm sure that's probably normal. But I think my takeaway and what I've realized is that we're all mindful at some point or another, many times in our lives. We just didn't call it being mindful. And for me, I think those moments are when it's something you really don't want to forget. We use our senses to brand it in our minds. So if you're on a favorite vacation or you're eating amazing food or you're seeing an incredible concert with your favorite artist or a play, anything, you might utilize your senses to visually check everything out and just, I'm going to soak this all in. I'm going to capture a mental photograph. You might use your hearing to pay attention to the sounds that are going on around you, your sense of touch to just feel things that are around you, or smell or taste. And you don't even realize you're doing it. You're just thinking, I don't want to forget where I am right now. And I'm just going to soak this moment in. And that's being mindful. And I know I've done that many times in my life, because there are places that I have not forgotten. There are things that I've seen that just struck me, and I wanted to remember and savor that moment. And I think that that's mindfulness, is savoring and being present in the moment. And as I'm actively practicing this, I am struggling against falling asleep because I'm so profoundly relaxed, or I'm struggling against the outside noise and being distracted. And that's a hard thing for me, for sure. So, interested to know anybody's perspectives on utilizing this as an alternative to medication when it comes to stress and anxiety. Any thoughts on that, my friend Josh, or Mike, or Karen, or Bo?
Again, they're on a delay, so we'll have to give them a chance to respond.
What is your thought?
Um, I've always been interested in the study and the practices of mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a martial artist of like decades, and so we tend to do some meditation anyway. And there's a thing like you want to meditate in the beginning of class to get your mind ready for, you're about to do something, right? And so if you're distracted and you're not paying attention, you might fall into people or hit somebody or you're just flailing about. And so you just kind of, calm the mind and get ready for that. And then, sometimes we meditate after really hard classes, right? And you're soaked, right? You're soaked. There's just salt everywhere at this point. And but like there were lessons there, and there's a reason why you got to the point that your legs are burning, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, again, quiet the mind and reflect, right? And so, in those two practices, there's just like that one aspect of mindfulness, which is to kind of check in with yourself. How is everything feeling? Is your ankle, did you roll it that bad? How bad is your knee feeling right now? Right? And then like the pain literally just kind of subsides because you're paying attention and
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh, my brain just wanted me to know that my knee was turned a little bit and it's not terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. But to bring it outside of that, and like, it's like the homework. He's like, take something mundane and bring mindfulness to it. Like, when was the last time you paid attention to brushing your teeth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, never, honestly. I never. It's an activity. You wake up, it's like the first thing I do. I get that taste out of my mouth from sleep, and then it's into the shower, right? And I don't, and
Mm-hmm.
all of this is happening, and I'm on autopilot, just like he's talking about. He's like, how much time are you going to live in autopilot? And, now I take that's my like, I'm bringing mindfulness to brushing my teeth, and it's like, am I doing a good job of brushing my teeth? And now I have that existential crisis going on.
Yeah, right, exactly. But you're right. It's living on autopilot. And while I'm learning this, I'm also wrestling with how many moments did I live on autopilot that I let just go by that you can't recapture?
Yeah.
How many moments, were you with, was I with my family and just wasn't paying attention because I was on my phone, or I was, I had my earbuds in, I'm listening to music, I'm not part of a conversation. And I know I can't beat myself up for any of that. But you're right. I think I did it again today. I did. When I was getting my hair done, and there were moments where I felt some burning on my scalp. And instead of, letting myself go to 0 to 60, because there was really nothing tragic about it at the minute, I just went into the sensation. And next thing you know, it was gone. It's like I used to say, you just give yourself over to science. When I would go to the ER, I would just give myself to those that are the doctors and nurses and just I can only control what I can control, but this is different. This is being in that moment with whoever and is around me. And it's a very different experience. It's very different. It's interesting. Like all that Mr. Miyagi stuff that you don't know. No,
right? Here's another
you know?
example. Dentist work. Anytime I have to go to the dentist, my dentist is always like, "You're a very good patient. You sit patiently. You don't make a lot of noises. You just sit and he's like, you don't do anything. You just breathe,
Yeah.
right?" And I remember like as a kid, okay, when I would go to the dentist, they would try to bring the needle to do work, and I'd be like, "No, no needles." And they were like, "Kid, you don't know what you're doing." And then they would bring my mom in, and my mom would be like, "No, he says no needles every single time. He said
Uh-huh.
he says you're just gonna hurt my gums in order to hurt my gums, so just hurt my gums and be done with it."
That's what you would say every
Yeah, and
time?
I was a kid, and they wouldn't
Okay.
believe me, and I would get
Yeah.
stitches in my head several times as a kid because I am reckless. And
Right.
so we go in there, and again, it's they're gonna do some stitches, and I would just sit there
Hmm.
and just endure the pain at a young age. But it was like, what are you gonna do, right? Like you're gonna stab me 8 times to give me 12 stitches?
Yeah.
Just give me the stitches.
Right. That's crazy.
Right? And then that's me as a very young kid on the scalp wounds constantly. Fast
Yeah.
forward 30 years, and I take an
Hmm.
elbow to the eyebrow, and it slices my eyebrow open. Okay? And I'm
Yeah.
I'm in the ER, and I'm waiting for the stitches and everything. And I look at the lady, and I'm like, "No, no, no. I know this is gonna sound weird." I'm like, "Don't worry about the numbing. Just give me the stitches." And she goes, "Oh, I would totally just give you the stitches knowing what it is that brought you in here," because I was training at the time.
Hmm.
She goes, "But I'm going to have to pluck some of your eyebrow out." And I went, "Well, go ahead and pluck the first one and let me evaluate."
Mm. God,
Okay.
that's
So now I'm
insane.
crying in the ER because she pulled an eyebrow out. And I was like, "Just numb it, stab me as much as you want."
The
Numb the
eyebrow
whole
hair.
thing. Oh my God. Oh my God.
That's
It hurt
hysterical.
so much.
Well, I would think pulling out an eyebrow hair near an open wound definitely would hurt, but that does kind of make me laugh considering so many women get their eyebrows plucked and waxed, like,
Right?
every
Exactly,
other month.
right? I was like,
Yeah,
stab me in the face, do it.
hysterical. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah, no, nope. I know people that have colonoscopies without being put to sleep.
Right?
I don't, that's how it was
Mindfulness.
always done. Crazy. No,
Mindfulness, yeah.
no, no, no. I'd be mindful in an MRI. I like counting the sounds I'm hearing. I fall asleep. That's what's happening with purposeful mindfulness. I'm falling asleep. If I don't realize I'm doing it, I'm okay. But if I have to sit here but yet I can also sit and just ground myself. I just need to work on the distraction level.
Yeah.
And I think then my anxiety and stress would go down according to this article. What I need to do, what it's saying I need to do. All right. If any thoughts come up from anybody, please let me know. We are going to, that was my article. Nope, this was a different one, I think. Right? Yeah.
We're on to Feel Good Friday.
Yeah, this was it. Look how fast that happened. Feel Good Friday, second article written by Jess, and she titles it Feel Good Friday, Aortic Hope, and Mindfulness is on My Mind. I guess it was a part 2 to her Therapeutic Thursday. Mindfulness is a huge part of Jess's routine, and it actually allows her to feel really good and focus on present moments, which we were just talking about. And by focusing on the potential worries of the future, and also by not focusing on the potential worries of the future, and also not dwelling on the past, she actually can stay grounded in gratitude for the moment right now. And that's what Jen Fernjack also talks about when she talks about having an attitude for gratitude. And it's all coming together, it's all intertwined. But in the quote here, mindfulness means paying attention in a particular way on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally. We actually talked about that the other night, and that was stated by John, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Kabat-Zinn. Being mindful about so many parts of our day is important, and spending time focusing on the present moment is so beneficial for your physical and mental health. Many benefits are listed in this article, so check it out, and we're going to go through some of them right now. But uh, and this is all explained by Professor John Kabat-Zinn. some of the benefits. And so one of them would be that mindfulness improves well-being overall. And I think we've talked a lot about that now. And I think it helps you process things you've experienced in the past and kind of supports, as it says here, the overall attitude that helps contribute to just having a satisfied life. In addition, mindfulness helps to improve your physical health. And we've talked about that now twice. If greater well being isn't enough of an incentive, scientists have actually discovered that mindfulness techniques help improve physical health in a number of ways. It actually can treat heart disease and lower blood pressure, reduces chronic pain, relieves stress, improves sleep. I know that for sure, and alleviates gastrointestinal difficulties. All benefits of being mindful. Mindfulness improves your mental health. And actually, in recent years, psychotherapists have actually turned to mindfulness meditation as an important element in the treatment of a number of disorders, including depression, substance abuse, eating disorders, couples conflicts, anxiety disorders, and obsessive compulsive disorder. So these are all techniques that are scientifically proven, a lot of times being paid for by insurance. So all of that makes me feel even better about doing this myself. So it goes into a lot of mindfulness techniques in this article about how you can do basic mindfulness meditations, the ways to breathe, going through your body sensations, experiencing different sensory sensations, and how to do it without judgment. Meaning, if you feel something that doesn't necessarily feel good, not to dwell and judge on that, but to just experience what that feeling actually is. Don't assign and label things to it. Like you're frustrated or even if that you feel joy, just accept the presence of these emotions without actually bringing too much attention to it, if that makes sense. Accept it without having judgment. Also, that talks about urge surfing here. Cope with cravings. This being mindful can help you do that, and learning how to let the cravings pass. And I've been trying to do that recently too, and didn't realize I was being mindful. I've been doing a no Coca-Cola. It's very hard for me. I want this craving out of my system by the summer, which is when I want to drink it the most. And it's hard because I know where to get really good fountain Coke and with perfect crunchy little ice. And when I go to have lunch, which would be the perfect time to drink it, I'm not even sure it's happening so fast, but I'm just taking a deep breath and I'm deciding, let me just try water first. And then by the time I'm into the water, I forgot that I wanted the Coke, which is great because having pump head or having gone through open heart surgery, your memory is so shot now. So I forget that I wanted the Coke a lot faster, which I guess is good. Different form of mindfulness, but definitely check out this article. There's a lot of great information on why and what you can do, basically, in the basic sense, to help you get started. And you're probably doing a lot of this now. You're just not even aware. But if you bring attention to it and you become more aware, you might see a lot more of these physical and emotional and mental benefits while you're doing it.
Right
Friday.
on, right on.
Right on.
I want to pay a little bit of attention to the urges thing.
Okay.
A couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I started eating once a day. Okay, and it turns out that your body is going to experience that request for food, hunger,
Mm-hmm.
very strongly on a regular cycle. And that regular cycle is anything that you choose. So if you choose to eat twice a day, your body gets accustomed to that. What's
Okay.
shocking is that it only takes 4 days,
Hmm.
right?
Okay.
So 4 days of I am very hungry. Why am I not eating? Hangry, hangry, right? 4 days later, it becomes I could eat now, but I'm not hungry. And that
Mm-hmm.
happens for breakfast, that happens for lunch, right? And so basically the first, what is it, like whatever the math is from 9 to about 6, I don't eat anything. I just drink water and every now and then I have coffee. But
Okay.
it was four very hard, like very, because I mean you're only paying attention to it. Your brain is like, we need to be eating right now, but you
Mm-hmm.
don't. You really don't, and it's fascinating. After
So
that,
you're not even doing intermittent fasting.
oh,
You're
that is
just one
intermittent
meal a day,
fasting.
same
That is
time.
intermittent fasting.
Okay.
Well, the
But you're
thing
limiting
is
it to
like,
one meal.
yeah, you eat so much that, like, I don't know. I mean, let's just say munchies they play a role in that later in the day,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? But
Yeah.
you're not distracted in any way, shape, or form by the fact that you haven't eaten in any way 4 days later.
Yep.
And so, like, with that came like, I like to work at a specific level of intensity. And
Mhm.
because there's no break for lunch and there's no crash from post eating, that I can get to the end of that, whatever it is that I'm working on, with all of my attention, right? And so
Okay.
when we're talking about flow state, there's literature that talks about how long it takes for you to get into that moment of, now I'm doing exactly what it is that I'm supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
My mind is attuned to it. My hands are doing exactly what I needed to do. All thoughts are producing something. That flow
Mhm.
state. You can only hold that flow state for a certain amount of time, but it takes 90 minutes to get there, right? And
Okay.
so what really, it's almost like a flight. Like, the first 45 minutes that you're working, you're grinding your way into a flow state. Now you're going to be in flow state for the next 40 or so minutes, and then you're descending out of it. So you can't even tax on it as much as you want. But
Okay.
now take that same idea and throw a lunch into it, and that means that whatever task you're trying to do in the morning, like right up until you have lunch, that's what you're
Yeah.
going to be concentrating on. Then you have lunch, then you
Right.
go through the crash, and then it's going to be whatever activity you're doing in the evening, and then you're going to put all of your attention into that. And then you're going to end
Mhm.
that, you're going to come out of your flow state, and it's time to eat again. And then it's relaxation and rest. And so by not having that lunch, I can freely go into working very hard, closing up that
Mhm.
project or whatever that is, wind that down, take a small break, and then go into the next project and just keep riding the wave of a flow without a crash in the middle of the day. So instead of
That's
only
very
getting
interesting.
two hard, yeah, instead of only getting two hard levels of workout, I can I can go in and out of it 4 times
Mhm.
before I eat
Yeah.
again. Yeah.
That's very interesting. But what you're saying is it's also very true because I've experienced that similarly and differently because if you're in the hospital, so
Hmm.
having had Crohn's disease or many times I was in the hospital on NPO, so nothing by mouth for days.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it is by day 3 it's you're hangry like you said.
Hmm.
By day 4 it's like as long as I have an ice chip I'm fine. If I can drink some water but I'm not having solids it's fine. And by day 5 or 6 or 7, by the time they give you broth and some jello, you're like, it's really not a big deal anymore. You've gone so long not eating that it's not like you're craving a steak. You just want something that tastes different than water in your mouth.
Oh yeah.
But, it is different because your body does adapt. It just does. It just
Hmm.
does. Hmm. You gave me something to think about. To think about. Yeah, for many different reasons, even just outside of but mainly for what you just talked about, how you can just be more productive, just having that break of everything you were doing and now you have to put food in.
Hmm.
But there are many people that think you should eat 6 times a day.
I mean, it all works out.
Yeah.
There's marathon runners that only eat once a day. Ultra marathon
Right.
runners, they run 200 miles in their
Yeah.
marathons, and they work out the entire day, and
Yeah.
then they just throw food down. Ironman triathletes, they work out their
Hmm.
entire day, and then they throw their food down.
Right.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
it's not that it's hitting
Crazy.
them from a nutritional level or not.
Right. It's
Karen
not. It's
Karen
not
says,
that.
but can we do these types of fasts? And that's a question that I've asked inside of the support groups whenever diet and
Yeah.
exercise comes up. And my question has always been, it depends on what your reaction is to your morning medicine, I assume.
True. I
Yeah.
have to eat with my
Yeah.
medicines for GI issues, but that is a good question. If you have a blood sugar issue, could play into it,
Mhm.
and you don't want certain. It's going to be something you have to discuss with your doctor. I
Yeah.
mean, it's going to be that's one of the nuances of this of aortic disease that's
Hmm.
just so different for everybody. But it's something to talk about.
Yeah. I mean,
Definitely something to take
it's
talk about.
definitely worth looking into.
Sure.
Especially if
Yeah.
if you have a terrible diet, right? Like,
Right.
imagine you're going to have 2 servings of French fries, and now you're only
Yeah.
having one, and just that one change alone, and what kind of ramification that might have.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, just changing the 250 calorie can of Coke made a huge difference. Huge difference. There was a crash that happened initially, a lot of fatigue. uh,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's just
Caffeine
that's just
withdrawal
gone.
and sugar.
Yeah,
You're cutting sugar at the same time.
I am a lot of it. And my go-to drink outside of water is iced tea, which I'm trying more and more to just only do decaf tea with stevia. But if I do have something like from the grocery store, it's a diet iced tea. I just
Mm-hmm.
prefer it now. I can't do all the sweetness anymore. I can't do it. It's too much sugar.
For
Too much.
teas, I drink green tea.
So does my mom. She
Yeah,
loves it.
and
I don't know.
like I love honey and green tea.
Yeah, she does a ginseng honey green
Ginseng's very
tea.
good. Ginseng's very
Yeah.
good.
I'll have to taste it. I'll have to see. It's been a diet uh, Arnold Palmer. So it's a little iced tea, a little lemonade. It's really tasty. And I do like peach tea. So I'll do some of those too, the diet peach teas. But again, should you be having all that aspartame? No. Stevia would be better. It's just so much information out there. But to answer Karen's question, something you should discuss with your physician for sure.
100%. 100%.
For sure.